Launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys blasting off with Spencer Zabiela. He is the CEO of Mufi, and I do want to note to the audience at home that this is the first time we're recording this podcast in front of a live audience here in New York City. Spence, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
I gotta be honest, you guys have kind of come out of nowhere. I hadn't really heard about what you guys were doing before I saw you on a poster for a big event happening in the city. Maybe you can tell me and the audience a little bit about what you're trying to achieve with Mufi.
So Mufi is rights management for the music industry, and we're taking a Web3 approach to solving for the many problems that exist in royalty collection.
Royalty collection?
Yeah.
Okay, so walk us through that. Like, so this is in the music industry. An artist releases, I don't know, a single on a label. And what happens to the revenue of that single?
It's very complicated. It's an incredibly complicated process.
Okay.
And a lot of artists, even high-level artists, don't really understand the full scope of where everything goes and when they're getting paid, how they're getting paid, why they're getting paid. So there are a lot of issues to address. There are a few pieces of the royalty share. There's the master recording, there's performance royalties, there are mechanicals, and those are all collected and distributed through different organizations, and
Okay.
There are different payout timelines for how those get paid back to like a distributor, and then from a distributor to a record label, and from a record label to an artist.
Okay.
So artists provide the most, or the largest value,
Right.
because they're making the music, right?
Right.
And they're sort of the ones that get the short end of the stick, which is largely the problem, and that's what Mufi is helping to address.
Okay. So how do you know about it? How all this works? Like, what's your experience? You've been in the music industry previously, I assume.
Myself and my co-founders, James and Anthony, we've been in the music industry for years, and I used to work as a consultant in equity capital markets, and I kind of saved everything that I was making to build a recording studio in Brooklyn.
Damn.
Which was I'm a very creative person, and so when I saw the opportunity to create a recording studio, I said, all right, well, I got to go after this, and I really met some incredible people and got to produce for large artists in the dance music community. Okay. And a couple of pop artists and some hip hop, and that's actually where I met James and Anthony. James and Ant have both produced for like Drake and Beyonce and Lady Gaga, Calvin Harris, Tiesto, and have experienced how rough collecting on your royalties can be.
Right.
And I was introduced, obviously, through running the recording studio and producing for some of these artists. I got a crash course in what it was like to work on that level, and to register and collect on those works. And it was mind-blowing that in today's day and age, everything is done pretty much, it's a very paper-intensive process, and a lot of royalties are actually caught up in like a black box, and those royalties, if you don't collect on them, they just go straight back to the record labels.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And I imagine maybe there's some corruption going on as well sometimes.
No, in the music industry, not at all.
No? Okay. I didn't think so.
Yeah. I mean, there's an incredible amount of room for innovation and to create better systems. And that is, I mean, we actually had early engagement with the Web3 Foundation and Dan Reeser and Peter Morick for a project with Kusama, and started to learn about what, the Web3 space, or crypto, whatever you want to, whatever it was coined as at that point, and realized that a lot of the layer ones that were being built on Polkadot were perfect. Like blockchain is an incredible, way to solve for royalty collection, and I think a lot of
Sure.
people know that.
Yeah. Amazing. What was this project that they brought you in on?
So it was so part of what I did when I was working in equity capital markets, we worked with all these different underwriters to help tell company roadshows, and there was an element to it where we had to simplify or jazz up, or a little bit of both, in to tell a company's story, and a lot of that was media driven.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we got connected to Dan Reeser, and Dan and Peter were like, how do we make this Kusama thing sensible for kind of like the lay person? And we were the lay people. So we were like,
you
okay,
hadn't
how do
really
we?
you hadn't really heard about blockchain yet?
No, I had some engagement with, I think it was just like Coinbase, and like
Sure.
trading like Litecoin or something.
Okay, gotcha.
I made like a bunch of money, like, I just threw it in. I was just trying to get on the bandwagon back in like 2017, I guess, or 2016, whenever the last cycle was.
Yeah.
And then I cashed out, and that was it. And I hadn't touched it. And then all of a sudden, it was like back,
Amazing.
like wildfire.
All right, so you found Kusama, and then you started to put it together how like this problem that you're describing that you experienced before could possibly be addressed with the blockchain, the solution of blockchain.
I was in parallel, still owning the recording studio and working, and complaining about how these royalties were the collection and administration of them were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And so the dots were connecting, and James and Ant and I were talking about actually another solution that wasn't like a blockchain solution, to a different part of the industry, a very specific part of the industry. And we just pivoted to what Mufi is now.
What's the music industry feeling about blockchain these days?
I think it depends on who you ask.
Okay.
Largely, artists have a propensity for Web3, and I think it's because they are creators, and I think Web3 is very much a creator economy driven by engineers and technically minded people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where there's a lot of overlap.
Right.
So I believe that on an artist level, artists are looking for a way to solve the number one problem, which is access to capital. And on the legacy institution level, I think they just want in because it's what the masses are moving towards.
When I hear about music on the blockchain, we're hearing about a few projects coming on now.
Yeah.
We have a burgeoning music NFT space developing on Singular. Public Pressure just
Yep.
launched as well.
Yep.
They're both taking this NFT approach. Are you guys also employing NFTs on your solution?
So the bigger picture solution for Mufi is more of an infrastructure play, and to
Okay.
work with platforms like Public Pressure. We've actually spoken with Sergio, and working with Royal and Opulus and some Music XYZ or Sound XYZ. I'm sorry. There are certain utilities that need to exist in music today, and also take into account what we don't know is coming in 10 years from now.
Okay.
But there are definitely specific utilities that need to be addressed and exist for other things to happen. And so when we think about NFTs, or the NFTs that exist right now, they're great because they're like collectibles. They solve for fan engagement. They also directly put funds into the pockets of artists that need access to that capital. Mm-hmm. In some cases, it's a one-time thing, and in other cases, it's something that accrues value in perpetuity for both the artist and the fan. I'm a proponent of anything that helps to advance the music industry, both for the fan and for the artist.
Okay, so you're looking to build this infrastructure upon which other people can create a music business.
Yeah. Provide utilities that maybe aren't as consumer facing and maybe a little less sexy, but extremely necessary for scalability and growth in this music Web3 space.
Okay, so who would be using this solution mostly? Is it like record labels?
Eventually, it's everybody really. You
Okay.
know, anybody that wants to build. So it could be an individual artist. It could also be, you know, a conglomerate and anyone in between. We want to level the playing field for how the music business operates and for every part of the value chain. So we see ourselves initially servicing a very specific group of companies, rights management companies, such as particularly like nonprofit organizations like ASCAP, but ultimately providing utility that like the DSPs, the streaming services, and um, the record labels and distributors can benefit from as well.
So that's interesting because like I feel like a lot of this like NFT narrative, this NFT music narrative is all about disrupting the streaming um, paradigm. But it sounds like you guys are kind of building something that can more plug into what's already working today.
I think that nobody has a crystal ball as to how things are going to play out, but the future for artists should look like a world where there's access to capital for an individual artist as much as there is for a major label artist,
Hmm.
and easier, I guess, like payment rails that reflect a a modernized approach to consumption.
Hmm.
So in an ideal world, you know, you pay $20 a month to Spotify, and if you listen to Fish, you know, on repeat, you know, it shouldn't be a pro rata system where The Weeknd and Drake are getting paid out,
That's cool.
but
Yeah.
rather it's just going straight to Fish. A lot of
Right.
things need to happen before we get there, but
Okay.
and we're solving for that.
So you're building on Substrate?
Yeah. We're actually initially building a DApp on Acala,
No
and
way.
yeah, and
Hmm.
we are definitely building on Substrate for some of the core products.
Okay. What's it like building on the Dotsama ecosystem right now? I mean, we got launched about a year ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what I am so attracted to for the you know with regard to the Datsama ecosystem is the level of talent and passion
Hmm.
that exists, and you know there's a high level of collaboration. I think everybody's really excited. Like all the layer ones are extremely excited to like use XCM. They're just like, let's do it, you know, which I
Yeah.
think is cool. It's also really early on too, so there are a lot of challenges with you know just getting certain things moving, but it's all backed by top tier talent, so it's part of it, you know.
Super cool. So what can we expect as like the first thing that we can interact with or we can see other people creating with?
I think some of that I can't really speak to right now.
Sure.
You know, it's a little under wraps, but I can say that we have some very big announcements coming in the next few months that um, will help showcase why Polkadot or the Dot Summit ecosystem in particular is going to be the new home for music in Web3.
Damn. Well, you heard it here first. What is it like coming without a technical background, but like coming from an industry that's already working, already supporting artists and producing revenue, and trying to fit it onto this brand new substrate technology?
Well, we're not a solution in search of a problem. We're very much focused on how do we develop this idea in an environment in an ecosystem that is so largely run by engineering founders, you know, technical
Yeah.
founders, right? That is a little bit challenging, but I think that adds to the narrative. This, you know, this is where things have to go eventually. You have to be able to bring industries that can benefit from everything that Polkadot offers, or that Web3 in general offers, and use the tools that exist. You know, the tools are in a lot of ways for certain applications superior to Web2 tools.
Hmm.
That's like undeniably so.
Yeah.
And so, in order for non-technical entrepreneurs to break into that space, there has to be a collaboration and understanding and mutual respect, I think, between those types of founders and projects that are so engineering driven, and I think that is starting to happen on the Kusama ecosystem in particular.
Amazing. Well, I hope breaking into it so early pays off to you guys.
Yeah.
And really exciting sitting down to talk to you and learning about this project. I mean, we didn't even get into the DeFi part of it and how people can fund artists maybe and how that's all going to work. But maybe we can get together a little bit down the road and discuss that a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rad, man. Okay, nice to meet you and
Pleasure.
talk to you soon, okay?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thanks.